Hey, I'm Georgia Lyons and welcome to Intros. Today on the show we have the absolutely incredible Alayna. Welcome to Intros.
Thank you, Georgia.
It is so good to have you here.
It's so good to be here.
I don't know if this is the first time I ever heard you play or saw you play, but back in Parachute, in a tent.
Oh my God.
Years and years and years and years ago.
I would have been maybe 16, 17.
That was the first time
Wow.
I have just tucked you away in
You're
my little
an
pocket.
OG.
What has been your journey with music?
I think I've been writing and singing for a long time, probably 15 years, really focused on music and releasing music for probably 7 years now just. And I think I'm still figuring out where I'm going musically. And as an artist, I think releasing an album last year was a huge dream for me to do. And it felt like a real quiet triumph, I think, for me, because I've been working towards that for so long. But also getting to that point, I realised the entire beforehand was just as beautiful and just as important. And I think all of those steps made it more special, like how long it took and how much I put into it. And I think being an artist is what I've learned a lot is less like outward and trying to build yourself up in places. It's more just like sinking deeper into yourself. And I feel like I'm slowly starting to be like, oh, okay, this is what it's like. It's brought me a lot of peace, I think.
Has that been terrifying, that process of like...
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Terrifying, but also like I don't know how else to do it. I've realised like that feels the most fulfilling to me, and that's the tiny bit of satisfaction I sometimes get is when I'm like, oh, I accessed that part of me. That's what I'm supposed to do, and that's how I'm supposed to be as an artist. I think it's really easy to put all your worth, all your validation in what you make and hoping that someone else is like, yeah, this is great, you know, that encouraging thing that we want. But I realised that is really shaky ground to put your all in. So it's like learning to pull back and be like, oh, what do I like? That guides me better and gives me more satisfaction, I think.
Was there a moment where that shifted for you, or do you feel like ever since you were a young Alayna that you were just like, cool, I'm just going to ride this wave of doing like the work of digging deep and connecting to myself and writing from that place?
I think it wasn't like a conscious decision. It just kind of happened. I remember writing a song for my second EP, and it was the first one I kind of went inward, and that really affected me. And I was like, oh, this feels like something. And I can't really describe what feels right and wrong. I just kind of follow, and it feels very natural and terrifying, but right to go inward.
It's scary, but I agree. Like, because it's a really big thing. Like making art that you're really proud of, and obviously wanting people to like it and for it to mean something to them. But you cannot control what happens to your child when it's out in the world.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? Is that a conversation that you're constantly revisiting?
I think it's something I'm still learning, because it's great to be acknowledged for, or like I feel really seen when someone else is like, this was amazing. I'm like, yes, because I can be really lonely or isolating being an artist in general and just writing your way in a corner and then presenting it and then just hoping that someone will be like, this is great, you know? But I think I've learned a lot to be like, trust yourself. If this is what feels right to you, people will take it how they want. But it's just being reminded of your self-responsibility and you're not responsible for how it's received.
Currently, you are a self-managed artist, which is amazing. Talk to me about that. How has that been for you, juggling being an artist and also having to have hard conversations as your manager?
It's tough, a lot of learning. And I think I do get overwhelmed sometimes. Like releasing an album while doing all that stuff was a lot. But I also think I'm a really big believer in just working with good people. So if I say, look, I'm out of my depth here a little bit, but I'm willing to learn, what do you think about this? I'm putting a lot of trust in people that I trust. And it's also amazing how many people lean in when you ask for help or advice too, which I think is really important. And it's why I love this community of local New Zealand musicians and industry. I think everyone's keen to help each other.
Has that been like the overarching experience for you, like being in the industry? You've felt a sense of community, a sense of support, encouragement?
It was there the more I looked for it. And put myself in spaces where I was surrounded by people, because I think we can often be in our rooms a lot or away from it and you can feel unsupported. But if you step into spaces that there are others or gigs or go to write nights or try to put yourself out a bit more, I think you naturally meet those people and realise that it's very inclusive and very welcoming and everyone wants each other to do well.
Because one of the things I did want to chat to you about was when you were releasing your album, you had your songbook.
My album journal.
Your album journal,
Yeah.
and then you put that all over the world, which I loved. I thought was so amazing. How was that received?
I think it was good. I spent a lot of time in cafes journaling. I always have, and that's been my kind of safe space. And I wanted to just make a journal of the album, so with my lyrics and the kind of thoughts behind each song and the journey it took me on. And I was like, I'll hand make a whole lot of journals and put them in different corners of the world. And it's great in theory, but it was I didn't sleep for a week making them. But I believed in the idea so much. One message in one of the books that was in Sydney, it was from someone from overseas, and they're like, I've moved from this other country to meet the love of my life, and we saw your book in the corner, and it made me realise how amazing life is in this moment. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I did it for. Because I think the album itself was quite a solitary album. I had this dream of someone listening to it by themselves in a corner in a coffee shop, you know? So I tried to make that happen for some people.
I love that. What is your songwriting process? Do you have one?
I look at songwriting like these two energies, and one is the inspiration or the spark or the divine thing that kind of falls in your lap, like it might be a line or a melody. And then the other energy is the human part of it. It's the doing, it's the practical part of crafting the song and then getting behind the desk and recording it to make it a bit more tangible or realised. And those two energies have to work together, and realising that some days one might be more in the driver's seat than the other. So I try to turn up to songwriting sessions with curiosity and just seeing how it's going to go. I write a lot with my friend Noima Taho, and there's been songs where we had the spark and then we have to pull out of our toolkit and really craft the song. And at the end of the day, we'll be like, man, that one really made us work for it. And then other days, there might be one where I barely remember the session because it just flowed and it went really easy. That's generalising, but I feel like that's the kind of two ways it can go.
It's beautiful.
And both are amazing and are really rewarding.
What was the best piece of advice you got, and what is the worst piece of advice you got?
The worst was someone saying, no one cares about your story. Because I was discussing about releasing songs in a certain order, and the person was like, no one cares. I'm like, well, this song has to come first because of this, da-da-da. And they were like, no one cares. I know they... But it was all right. I was like, okay. But I'd grown a thick enough skin by then to be like, no, you're wrong. The best, it's little, but I think it meant a lot. One of my absolute powerhouse of a woman in the industry is Sheree Matheson. And I remember her telling me she used to mentor me. Always learn the sound guy's name when you turn up to a gig. And, it's just a small thing, but what she was saying in essence is everyone is a part of this. And I think sometimes it's good to just value everyone, I think.
Today you're going to perform a song of yours called Tender. Can you tell us what that's about?
I wrote that probably 5 years ago now. And it was one of the first songs I wrote internally and went inward. I had the line, my softness is my superpower, and I was like, okay. And I think it was at a time where I was starting to feel really numb, or I felt like my reserved nature or my quiet nature was always something that was not wrong, but something I needed to work on to be a performer or whatever. And I realised that was what was really important to me, was my softness. I think that's where my songwriting comes from, is that ability to feel things.
Beautiful. One of the really cool things about intros is discovering new artists. Do you have an artist that you want to give a shout out to?
I do. Her name's Aubrey.
I worked with her this week.
She's incredible. she's incredible, obviously, but she's also effortlessly cool and so young. And seeing a young woman in that predominantly male space is super inspiring. And I'm just so excited to keep watching her bloom.
Yes. I got to work with her this week on Song Hubs, and I just was like so blown away watching her every single day and what she orchestrated within the groups of people. And like you're saying, such a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah. I don't know how she's just chill. She's like behind the desk doing this and doing something incredible. And she's like...
So calm too. There was high stress scenarios. And I was like, you're so calm right now. She's like, inside I'm panicking. But like, if you haven't discovered Aubrey, go and discover Aubrey. It has been an absolute privilege to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, George.
On my little show. That ends. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
Bye.
Wondering out loud, have I lost myself? Lately these days I'm making a stranger out of me. Where'd I put my worth? Must have lost it in the falling leaves. My solitude, it ain't the same no more. Tender heart, won't you come back? Won't you come back? Ooh, my softness is my superpower. Ooh. What do I do when the night is over? Over. 'Cause I keep turning all these pages. I keep falling underneath the weight of myself, and I don't know how. If this is how it is, and I don't want a piece of it. Don't tell me that it fades more as I grow. Ooh, my softness is my superpower. Ooh, what do I do when the night is over? Oh, tender like I've never felt the feeling. Tender like I'm breaking into pieces. Tender like I still believe in goodness. Tender like I've never felt the feeling. Tender like I'm breaking into pieces. Tender like I still believe in goodness. My solitude, it ain't the same no more. Ooh, tender heart, won't you come back? Ooh, my softness is my superpower. Ooh, yeah. What do I do when the night is over? Over. Oh, tender like I've never felt the feeling. Tender like I'm breaking into pieces. Tender like I still believe in goodness. Tender like I've never felt the feeling. Tender like I still believe in goodness. Tender